might be 5 or 6 work days. Maybe that translates to 7 or 8. That might be 7 or 8 calendar days rolling into a weekend. So something picked up and not an express service going from, let's just say, from Germany to California in the U.S. That could wind up taking 6 or 7 days overall from one extreme to the other, and those are a relatively small percentage of shipments. Most shipments are going to be within a couple of days, but that might be on the high end 7 or 8 calendar days, on the low end 1 day. But
okay.
But I'm going to say, and I can speak for North America, where I'm going to say at one point, close to 50% of the shipments would be delivered within 2 days of everything that's transporting within, say, North America. Maybe a little bit different in Europe, but probably not that different.
Yeah. Okay. Super. And it's normally in the truck. So on the way, what does it have to survive? It's in the truck, right? It's not exposed to the sunlight. It's closed. It's then delivered and given to customer. That nothing happens to it in between.
Yeah, that's correct. It would wind up moving if the package is prepared and labeled by a client in their own warehouse. Ultimately, it'll sit indoors on a shipping dock, and a UPS driver would pick it up, let's say at 5 p.m. on a Monday evening. That driver would take the packages back to a UPS facility where those packages would move on conveyor belts and get sorted and consolidated for truck movements to ultimately on its path to its destination for delivery. So it might move from picked up in Paris, processed and sorted in Paris, transported to Cologne, Germany, and then from Cologne, Germany, it may be broken down further and then transported to Frankfurt, Germany for delivery. And it would stay within a warehouse or within a truck until the point that it's delivered to someone, either at driver knocking at the door and delivering, or going inside of a dock delivery at a warehouse for a business. So the light exposure is minimal, not really a factor, and weather exposure is minimal. You might get temperature exposure. That is probably the variable, because the truck transport is not temperature controlled. It would be temperature controlled inside of our warehouses because they're in warehouses where employees are working. So it's typical working conditions for employees that the packages would be working or residing in that temperature, in that climate. The transport in a truck, if it's very, very hot out in the summertime, then the truck could heat up, and so that would be a condition that's variable. And at the same time, the condition in the wintertime where freezing temperatures or frigid temperatures can exist inside of a truck in transit. So that's the only variable I would say that's out there, is temperature.
Okay, super. And when it's supplied, labeled, let's say, at UPS location, you mentioned there are two options at UPS locations. It's either a label is applied manually or label is applied automatically. When it's applied automatically, what is the application method there? Do you know how is that applied?
Well, I'm trying to think about it's not always the same. In some instances, the label is blown onto the package, and in some instances, it's rolled onto the package. Those are the two that I would give you examples, and I'm not exactly sure what the terminology is in those two examples. The rolling on is very much like a pressure sensitive label that's